intro.
What's going on, everybody? This is Barry. This is the Borderline Hostility podcast. With me, as always, got D.
What's up?
Got Will.
What's up?
And we got my man Tim.
Yo.
Tim, if you could please follow the screen that you have on there. If you could just shut the hell up, man, that'd be great.
Would you shut up, man?
Listen, who?
Yeah, will
No
you
problem.
shut up, man?
Just mute yourself this entire time. No one wants to hear
Sense a
anything you have to say.
clown.
Will.
All right, so before we actually got into the serious business this week, Will wanted to discuss some stuff. So I'm going to give him the floor and go from there.
All right. Can y'all hear?
Yeah.
Can y'all hear me?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Do I sound okay?
I mean, you sound like Will, so
Oh, that's
downside.
that's the cards I was dealt.
You can't do anything about that.
Nah. Okay. Whew. Okay. My father died July 11th of this year. It wasn't corona that got him. It was non-alcoholic cirrhosis of the liver. He had the misfortune of getting sick the same year a pandemic dropped in the States. Now, there's no telling if the doctors could have saved him, but I'm positive they could have extended his life. When your liver fails, you sweat out through your skin what you would normally piss out. This causes itching and burning, and he couldn't get comfortable. He couldn't sleep because of it. He was fucking miserable. For him to get any kind of relief, he had to get prescription lotion that alleviated the discomfort. The thing is, small doses of this lotion cost big bucks. It doesn't last long, and they wouldn't do re-ups of the script over the phone. He had to be seen by the same doctor who knew his situation, and my dad would try to get an appointment to get in, but because of COVID, all the doctors in our small town were tied up. Around the 6th of July, his kidneys started failing him because of the overload from the liver that was failing him. He needed emergency dialysis. They didn't have the equipment to handle it in the 20-mile radius or a 40-mile radius, and they kept trying and went up to a 200-mile radius. Nothing. No beds anywhere. All because of COVID. It seemed helpless and hopeless. A bed finally opened up on the 9th of July. His good fortune that day to get a bed was someone else's bad fortune. The dude that was supposed to get that bed died of COVID. My dad got transported to Louisville, a city, to the best of my knowledge, he had never been before. My mother was informed that on the 10th of July, that 80 miles away, her husband, whose liver had failed and needed dialysis because his kidneys were failing, she was told that her husband was now on a ventilator because his lungs were filling up with fluid. The ventilator did the best that it could do, but my father's blood pressure was 90/50 and they couldn't get it any higher. My mother and sisters drove to Louisville, with my sisters keeping me informed of what was happening, and whenever my mom tried to talk to me, she couldn't stop crying. I was stuck at work, and finally my boss showed up to relieve me. I told him the Cliff Notes version of the story, and he sent me off to be with my family. That drive was the most horrible thing I ever experienced. Louisville isn't a pleasant city to drive in. You end up making really sharp turns out of nowhere coming off of the interstate. So after working all night and knowing that at the end of the drive I would be with my family while my father was dying, felt like I was drinking piss after eating a plate of shit. I finally get there, and being in a hospital is a pain in the ass. People look at you like you are stupid for not knowing exactly where to go. Like a hospital is a tourist attraction where people should know where to go at all times. Anyway, I finally get to the room and my family's there. All 5 of us are together for the first time in 7 years. And the doctors and nurses couldn't have been better. They were all good people, and it broke their heart when they told us that because of everything that was wrong with my father, that the machines were the only things that were keeping him alive. My mom said that if it was unanimous, that she would request that he be taken off all the machines. We agreed that he would have hated to be dependent on a machine in order to be alive, so it was a unanimous decision. And we all sat in the room and we cried while life was slowly leaving my father's body. So it goes. I say this because a few days ago, our president tested positive for COVID. Our president, who called the pandemic the new liberal hoax, who said it was no more dangerous than the flu, who said it would go away when it was warm, who tried to crowbar open the economy by Easter just to appease the Christian base, tested positive for COVID. He kept tweeting, "Liberate Minnesota, liberate Virginia, liberate Michigan." The economy was hurting because of the lockdown. He was trying to force it open. We weren't ready. He cared more about the stock market than the people he took an oath to protect. If he would have made it a nationwide mandate to wear masks and to actually do a shutdown, we could have contained it. Our shutdown was about 40%. All the other successful countries that shut down were in the high 70 to 80% range. The way we were doing it was like trying to put air in a tire while the car was moving. If you're a sociopath like our president is, and you have no real skin in the game, you could just pretend that everything that happened just happened. And it could have been worse. If you ignore something and change the subject or stand by a helicopter, you can pretend not to hear any questions that you don't want to answer. You just act like you won, and it appears that you won. A wake-up call should have been the Tulsa, Oklahoma rally. Two of his biggest supporters, Herman Cain and Bill Montgomery, both contracted and died from the coronavirus. The numbers kept ticking up, and instead of trying to rope it in with a more effective shutdown, we just kept doing the same thing over and over again, and the numbers kept rising. A few weeks ago, the tapes leaked from Woodward that Trump knew how dangerous the pandemic was. He said that he didn't want to cause a panic. The same dude that ran on MS-13 as coming to rape and murder your wives and daughters platform in the 2016 election was afraid to cause a panic. The same dude that listened to two assholes named Steve, Bannon and Miller, who used the racist book Camp of the Saints as a blueprint of what immigrants would do if they came here, was afraid to cause a panic. About 6 weeks ago, Trump accepted the Republican nomination at the White House. He talked about the coronavirus in the past tense like it was something that had been eradicated and that was long in our rear view. Not a mask to be seen while he was talking. In fact, the always classy Rudy Giuliani wiped his sweaty face onto his hand and then rubbed the bare arms of his cousin wife in one of the grossest shows of affections ever. The rest of us, well, we had to deal with a mess that was made for us. This past week during debate, Trump called Biden out for wearing a mask everywhere. He dismissed it like it was a stupid thing to do. This past week, a video surfaced of a gathering in the Rose Garden to celebrate Amy Coney Barrett. No social distancing. People hugging up on each other. Very few masks are seen in this video. They were spitting in the faces of every essential worker that made themselves go to work during the pandemic, regardless of the danger it put them in. Then finally Thursday, on the way to work, I hear the news on the radio. Hope Hicks tested positive for COVID. The President and First Lady are under quarantine. Then the news breaks on Twitter. Our President, who called the coronavirus a liberal hoax, once said who was no worse than the flu, had caught a virus that killed 200,000 plus Americans. Now, my mom, who's had a rough go since my dad died, she lost the person that she talked to most. And so she'll occasionally call me at work when she wakes up in the middle of the night or is she about to go to sleep, depending on what happened during the day. She called it early night and slept through the news. And when I told her about Trump testing positive, she reacted like she was an 11-year-old getting the newest video game system on Christmas morning. She reacted like she won the lottery. She reacted like she hit the game-winning shot and her team is going to the Final Four. And the dominoes kept falling. More and more positive tests. People that are horrible and that have enabled President Trump, like Kellyanne Conway and Chris Christie, testing positive. Man, it was the complete opposite of drinking piss after eating a plate of shit. And there's an impulse that is showing up in people to have compassion for the orange bastard, to have some sympathy for the devil. Have sympathy for someone that went golfing while his country was on fire, both figuratively from the coronavirus and literally from the wildfire in California. Have sympathy for a dude that was chucking rolls of toilet paper at Puerto Ricans that suffered a horrible loss after a hurricane. Has sympathy for a man who wanted to bypass due process and give the Central Park Five the death penalty with no trial. And finally, to have sympathy for a man who refused to condemn white supremacists, the Proud Boys, and Kyle Rittenhouse. Fuck him. I have no sympathy for him or his family. He didn't have to wait to get medical help. His family didn't have to go to a city where they never were before to be with him. He is getting the best of everything right now, and we are paying for it. I guess what I'm trying to say is you find yourself rooting for evil to get punished by karma or irony, and it happens. It should feel good. Consider it a victory for you. Friday morning was the first day of the year I felt good about life. Friday morning, I got to hear my mom laugh hysterically. I could actually hear her smiling through the phone. Don't let somebody punk you into thinking that you're a bad person for wanting bad things to happen to someone who only cares about themselves. Don't be guilted into thinking that you're lowering yourself to your enemy's level by doing so. In this case, I have more sympathy for the 200,000 that died needlessly because of a pandemic than for the asshole that once tried to pretend it didn't exist. Wear a mask. Don't be a cunt.
All right, well, that was pretty good.
All
I like
right.
that, buddy.
And just none of us knew what Will was gonna say. It's funny because I was talking with somebody, when Trump got the diagnosis, I was telling somebody it's ironic to say it this way, but this is the way I said it. I said, I don't wish for Trump to die. Does that make me a bad person? You know what I mean?
That was a great.
Which
I saw
I don't
that
like.
second.
Like personally, I want him to suffer and realize what this virus does. I have a hard time wishing for someone to die, and if you all wish for him to die, it's totally fine. But it's like ironic to like feel bad for not wishing he would die because of the shit he's done and the status that our country's in.
It's funny. Like I've fought the urge to sit and like be like, man, I hope he fucking dies. I've really fought that urge because it feels evil, but at the same time, there's no way that any sane person anyway could say if he died that the country wouldn't be better off the second he was gone.
For the greater good.
Yeah,
Or,
it would be the
if
greater
you ever
good.
watched a movie I love, Kingdom of Heaven, they constantly say God wills it.
Yeah. The Will, I didn't know that about your dad. I didn't know that he had trouble getting to bed and all that stuff because of COVID.
Well, the thing is, my mom didn't want. Well, the reason I didn't make. Well, you all knew about it because that day, July 11th, we were supposed to do our first podcast, for our first whack at it, and I had to cancel because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And my mom didn't. My dad's wishes were he didn't want it all over Facebook because there's a lot of horrible relatives that we have, but the cat got my mom. She did something it was pretty mean and funny at the same time. All these asshole relatives that didn't care about my dad at all, she sent them notifications of his death 3 weeks after he died. It was actually pretty funny and mean at the same time. No, but it sucked because if the pandemic never happened, my dad could have died the same day, the same reason. But I know for a fact that they kept scheduling him and then rescheduling him because the hospitals were just filled up with COVID patients.
Yeah, and that does bring up something that I've actually never thought of, and I'm pretty sure it's maybe it's been mentioned a little bit in the press, but the press is all obsessed with. We're up to 210,000 pretty much now, COVID deaths, and I never really thought about all the people that are suffering because of the impact that COVID has had on our hospitals. It's like there's a guy from work that has been battling cancer, and he goes in and things are good, and then and he went in recently, and now he's got brain cancer, and it's all over his body, and it's making me wonder. I wonder if they put off seeing him because of the coronavirus, and could have caught some of the stuff earlier where it's really bad now.
And just think how many people that's happened to.
Yeah.
And that's not the people. That's more. That's God. There's probably millions of people, to be honest. If there's 210,000 dead, then there's probably a million or more people that are in situations like that guy.
I mean, at some point, someone's gonna, CDC or whoever is gonna like tally up like an estimate of the true deaths from the impact of the coronavirus, like including people that died of COVID-related issues and people that didn't get the help they needed because of it. And it's like I saw a thing where I get so sick of these idiots that are like, oh, all these coronavirus tests are fake and blah blah. And like, you had a guy that was on his motorcycle and got in an accident and died, and then they said it was a COVID. And I have no doubt that there's maybe like small instances where that happens. There's no way it's broad spread. And the motorcycle guy incident, if I remember correctly, was he got in a motorcycle accident and he was put in the hospital because of the accident. And they were like well on the way to recover from his injuries from the motorcycle accident. And then he had coronavirus and it impacted his breathing and he was unable to survive because of that. That's why he was only in the hospital because of the accident, but he died because of the coronavirus and the effect it had on his life.
Well, I don't think I told you guys that last week I had to basically take my mom to the emergency room again. My mom's got a bad heart. And basically, if you have any of the symptoms of a heart attack when you have a bad heart, they say don't fuck around, go straight to the emergency room.
Yeah.
So she went. This has happened a handful of times now. You go, and doctor comes in, sees her, they give her some nitro pills or whatever, and eventually, luckily, she's always been okay. And it takes a couple hours, whatever, and most of the time they've been able to release her and tell her, just go home, take it easy, if anything else happens. Well, this time around, last week, she was there for like 9 hours, and the emergency room was full. The waiting room was full. So she's sitting there. She has pain in her left arm that won't go away. She has pressure on her chest that won't go away. She's freaking out, a doctor didn't even come in to see her for 7 hours. For 7 hours. And, we were asking, what's going on? And they're just like, oh, we're just, we're really, every bed's full. And I said, is it COVID or is there just something going on? And, they're like, well, yeah, that's part of it. People are sick. And I'd never seen it like that out there. It was the first time I think I'd been to the hospital like that since COVID. But 7 hours. She could have been having a heart attack. Like sometimes you're having a mild heart attack that turns into a bigger heart attack, but you can be prevented by a fucking doctor coming in. And it didn't happen. So yeah, I'm just making a point. My mom's, I guess, one of the people too.
And we kind of discussed a little bit before we talked for the show how at least three of us, me, Tim, and Will, are on the No Dads group, the No Dads gang. We've all lost our dad.
Yeah.
And Will
is that a club now?
Yeah, Will. Much more recently, it's kind of like it's like funny when my dad died. I had my friend Todd there, my friend Jeff there, and a handful of years earlier, my friend Jeff, his dad had died in a car accident where a guy fell asleep at the wheel, and then my buddy Todd, his mom had died of cancer like several years ago, and it's like I remember my buddy Jeff was like, "Yeah, we're all in the club that no one wants to be in. Where you've lost a family or a parent basically at a young age."
Well, the thing is, like, it wasn't. My dad wasn't the picture of health. He was like, he didn't take care of himself. Like, he died at 58. Usually, the dudes in our family don't live very long, but like they usually die like because of alcohol related stuff. My dad had non-alcohol. I never saw my dad drink. Like he might have had a beer at New Year's Eve a long time ago. But my dad smoked. He smoked like 4 packs of cigarettes a day from like 13 to 58. I mean, like, he's probably more pissed off the last week of his life that he couldn't smoke because, like, they told him, like, hey, look, you got oxygen in you. Like, you could you can set yourself on fire.
Yeah.
And I don't think my dad wanted to go out Jenkins style.
Dude, I'll never forget when my granny was dying of lung cancer from smoking. That my aunts and my mom and stuff, they would wheel her outside in a wheelchair with the oxygen so that she could have a cigarette. And like they would take the mask thing off. She'd take some puffs of a cigarette, of a lit cigarette, and then put the fucking gas mask back on to help her breathe. And I'm like, what are you people doing?
Well,
But I mean, at that point, you're gone. So it's just like, might as well just let them do what they want.
well, what's killed me is you have a lot of these older people that are Trump fans, and like they don't take the coronavirus as seriously as I think they should. And it's like I had a friend from work. She was talking about her mom, who's quite old and probably not in great health. And they had these relatives that were going like all over the U.S., like stopping in all these different states, and then they're going to come visit her mom. And she's like, "No, do not let them visit you." And I was trying to explain to her that it's like when you get like super fucking old, your death's just around the corner. All those people, for the most part, the only thing they can hope for is a nice death, a painless, die in your sleep, blah blah blah. And it's like they don't realize that the people dying of this coronavirus is fucking awful.
It's not a good death.
Yeah, you have a good death, so it's like you got these older people that are like, oh, I'm old. If I get it, I get it. And it's like, yeah, but you don't get that peaceful death. You die in fucking agony, gasping for breath.
Away from your family.
Also, what's wrong with these people saying, I'm old, if I get it, I get it? Hello, it's 2020. Science has gotten pretty good with the medical stuff. You can live to be 100 and still be out fucking jogging.
Well, I mean, them and even the people that are younger or healthy, they're like, well, if I get it, I get it. It's like, motherfucker, you can get it and spread it to other people and kill them too. Like,
plus the stories of people where they've lost like their sense of smell and taste for like 6 months. That's crazy. I don't want that.
Yeah, I was reading about that the other day where people are like, it's been 5 or 6 months. I still don't have my sense of taste or smell. You got some that are saying, oh, it comes and goes. Like I got over the coronavirus months ago, but my taste and smell comes and goes depending on the day. One person was saying that since he's had it, like he's eaten the spiciest food he could find just so he can taste it. And he's like, anything liquid tastes like fucking metal. And I think, like, especially at our age, when you get older, food is like a major source of happiness, like having like a nice steak or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, is losing that would not help with like depression people are having during these times.
I don't know.
There's other things that we don't know fully what the long-term effects are of this.
Yeah.
There's people that are still showing issues breathing, just
they're having
lung capacity, all kinds of stuff.
It's just like I can't remember the other virus that was some years ago, but they're having
SARS.
Yeah, I think it was SARS. They're having permanent lung damage, and the like I said, nobody knows right now the sense of taste and smell. As best the doctors know, today, is they're saying they don't think it's a senses at all. They think it's a neurological issue, and man, like neurological issues ain't nothing to fuck with. Like they can't just give you a fucking medication to fix your damn brain.
Right.
A lot of those things.
So something that I was going to mention, I forgot who was talking about it, but the numbers and how the numbers. I've heard so many people go, well, the numbers are skewed. It was you, Derek, talking about the motorcycle guy.
Yeah.
So the numbers are skewed, and really, that's not the real number. And then you discussed about, well, so if there's some issues with those numbers, if it's actually 180,000, that's still 180,000.
Yeah.
But also the indirect numbers that you have to add in there, people that are not being seen because they can't be seen. Here in a month or so, the flu numbers are going to be outrageous because people aren't going to be able to get the people that are on the fence that have almost died, say from the flu, for instance, in years past, are probably going to be the ones that get killed off this go around because there's going to be less resources that can be shared with them.
What kills me is the same with this election, and like Trump's saying like, oh, the Democrats are trying to steal the election, mail-in voting, blah, blah, blah. There's no reason that mail-in voting and in turn, the coronavirus numbers can't be skewed either way. I would argue there's just as many people, if there is skewing being done, there's just as many people that are creating cases that aren't real as they are covering them up or getting rid of them. The numbers, I guarantee, would even out. And also, like, I basically work with doctors, and you would not believe how important accurate numbers are to these people. Like, doctors, you'll have the occasional scumbag that wants to make a name for himself, and he'll skew the numbers to write a paper that will favor him. But 99% of them, accurate numbers is like their passion. Like, they will flip their shit if you fucked up and gave them the wrong numbers, or skewed them a little too much one way or the other for a mistake. They highly, highly value accurate numbers, so they're not just going to be dicking around fudging these numbers. And yeah, no, there isn't like widespread hospitals that like, oh, we get extra money if we give out more numbers. Like, no, it's fucking bullshit. Everyone knows it's bullshit, but you got one side that's clinging to all these conspiracy theories to explain away the shit that is happening.
So Timbo, you're big Civil War guy. Facts from like the bloodiest Civil War battles. Biggest death in the single day. Is it Gettysburg? Is it
yes, it was. It eventually was Gettysburg. At first, it was in Tennessee. Can't remember the name now.
Appomattox.
Appomattox. No, that's in Virginia.
Sorry.
I can't
recall. I bring it up because I'm looking at the sheet from the Department of Veteran Affairs, the VA, and this is not discussed. I've not seen this, but this is where the Trump's needing a pat on the back for his only 2,000 people have died gets a little ridiculous, even more so. So battle deaths of the Civil War, you combine both sides, it's 214,938. So we'll say 215,000, right? You check the numbers right now at this very moment. I'm looking at worldometers.info, and we have 214,491 deaths. So we're 500 deaths away from surpassing battle deaths of the Civil War.
Yep.
And that's the Civil War that was fought over 4 years.
Well, it's like I made a post about this fairly recently, and so I got a chart here. If like it's showing the military casualties in descending order, I guess you'd say. And Civil War's at the top. You have World War II. These are U.S. casualties. So that's all we're talking about right now. World War II, you have 405,000. And World War I, you have 116,000. The thing that you have to take in consideration is, like, with World War II, that's over a 4 or 5 year period.
Mm-hmm.
And we have 210,000 or whatever it is now in less than a year, months. People don't, when you try to make those correlations, people don't realize, Civil War was that 4 or 5 years, basically.
4.
So that's had that happen in that long a time. And we're fucking crushing it with the coronavirus.
Yeah, and then what is it? Is it 7 million people that have it?
They're affected, yes.
Yeah.
So I've been saying for a bit too. Also, India is going to be terrifying. We covered horror movies in our last podcast, but I mean, the numbers are going to astound us.
Yeah, they're blowing up in India.
India is 1 million less cases than we are right now. But we're at like 25,000 plus cases today, and they're at 75,000 plus cases.
It got to them late for some reason.
It got to them late, but their numbers are just skyrocketing. So, I mean, by Thanksgiving, it's going to be like infomercials on TV, fucking Sally Struthers asking for money for India, because it's going to get ridiculous.
And I love the people that are like, we can't shut down the nation because of the economy. All they fucking talk about, my economy. It's like, motherfucker, look at the economy anyways. Like, with something like this, you have to take drastic measures early on, and you take these super drastic measures for a short period of time early on.
Yeah,
you have to take them later. But instead, we're in this never-ending cycle where we go back and forth with shutting this down, shutting that down, blah, blah, because we always want to reopen too early because fucking these weak-willed human beings can't live without their damn haircuts.
Exactly.
Out of theaters. And that's the best is these people like act like they're the strongest, most American people, and they're the ones like, I need to go out to eat in my restaurant. Or I always see these guys, they're fucking cut off sleeve shirts in Walmart, acting like they're all buff, and they're like taking their mask off. I can't breathe in this. Like, you fucking pussy.
If we would have shut down, if we would have like for real completely shut down, and this isn't me just bullshitting, this is what the experts have said, the experts that are away from Trump, is that if we had shut down like the entire month of April and just said fuck it and shut down, then we'd probably be able to go to see a movie right now without having to worry. You know what I mean? The numbers would not be anywhere where they are now. And also, the pandemic relief that they passed, that whole thing could have been put towards all the businesses and all the renters and all the the property owners and stuff. All that money could have went to them and what they lost in that month period, instead of having to do what they fucking. It's just.
Well, there's
it's so fucking stupid.
Well, there's I forgot where I think it was a Friday. Like for some reason the stock market was tanking, and out of nowhere, $2 trillion got pumped into the stock market.
Right.
And it was gone 15 minutes later. I mean, gone forever. I mean, it was money that didn't exist to begin with, but like now it's gone forever and we have to pay for it.
Yeah.
With that same amount of money, if you divided it by 330 million people, that's enough to give every one of those motherfuckers like a check for like $6,000. And like, you know, and that would have done more good than just for like the 15 minutes of stability that it bought the stock market.
Yeah.
And if it shit the bed anyway.
That would have helped everybody instead of just a few rich people that own these major companies.
Well, I mean, they also could have used that money towards PPE for people. Like, wasn't there a
exactly
recently where the U.S. Postal Service was setting up to give out millions of masks to people?
Yeah.
The White House was like, nah, let's not do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like you said earlier, how Trump is saying the Democrats are going to steal the election, you know, while that motherfucker's doing everything he can to steal the election. Yeah. And I don't understand how his supporters, including some friends of mine, just are able to just pretend like that doesn't happen.
I just wish they would stop being hypocrites, because it's like, and it's the only thing you ever hear is like, oh, I wish they wouldn't talk on Twitter. It's like, fuck off. There's so many more terrible things he's done than things he says on Twitter. It's like, I wish they would just admit that, because, okay, I'm like probably one of the group that generally considers self a Republican, although I don't align with what the party is now. And but I can't vote for him because he's a fucking scumbag, and he's put our nation in this situation. So I'm going to vote for Biden. But I think just about everybody, especially even on the Democrat side, is very willing to admit that, okay, Biden's not a great fucking choice for a president. He's a damn sight better than Trump. But we're all willing to admit that Biden has his faults and he's not going to be a great president. But we have two options. We have Biden, not great president, and we have a megalomaniac, sociopath, fucking scumbag that doesn't care about anybody by himself and has put us in a situation. So those are your two options.
Well, it's like I have a friend I was drinking with the other night, and we're talking, and he brings up something about Biden. I forget what it was, but he brought it up, and he was just like, I mean, look at this. What do you think about that with Biden? And I go, dude, I don't care. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I go, no, you don't understand what I mean. I go, anything that you throw out right now and you say, like, well, what about this being bad about Biden? I go, anything that you say, I can turn around and say, well, Trump pretty much did the same thing. But Trump has done worse.
Yeah,
or Trump has done, okay, for that one bad thing that you can say about Biden, here's a dozen bad things you can say about Trump. And he was like, well, yeah, that's true. But then he still supports Trump.
Yeah.
So something that I've not seen, we've not talked about, and then Will with his weekly newspaper that he sends us, the Will Gazette that he sends us every day before well, it was not on the list as well. But so the debate, Chris Wallace. I don't know if you all saw this, but Chris Wallace was talking on Fox News. I believe it was Fox News. He was as a guest. It wasn't like a show or anything that he was hosting. But he came out and said the Trump family showed up late and weren't tested for COVID like they were supposed to.
Right.
They showed up too late.
Yeah. So there's that. And that is the epitome of everything that he is and represents. And then there is I won't say it's a truth because I'm not a crazy right-wing conspiracy theorist, but it's a damn good conspiracy theory where they showed Melania in the group with the family in the front row watching the debate, and she's the only one wearing a mask. And she's also the only one that we know of in that line that has COVID. So the conspiracy is that even before the election, the Trumps knew they were carrying
before the debate.
Before the debate, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. And I'm like, I mean, yes, it's a photo, but it's kind of hard. And you show up late to not be tested. It's kind of hard not to believe that theory.
What I love is the right will eat you up for that when they're the ones that make a conspiracy theory about everything that he does wrong. Every time he does some awful thing, all of a sudden this conspiracy theory comes out, fucking hydrochloroquine and all the other fucking nonsense. Fucking children. Now my personal, and I really don't believe this, but because I want to join in on the conspiracy theory fun, my personal conspiracy theory is that they don't actually have it, that this is Trump's way of killing Melania off. That way he gets a sympathy vote and he doesn't have to pay her the what is it before you get married?
The prenup.
He doesn't have to pay her the prenup that they restructured before he became president.
So you're saying they're going to drag her off into the woods and claim it was COVID that got her. Have her body.
Let's send Rudy Giuliani in there to suffocate her. It'll fuck it up because he's fucking Rudy Giuliani, a complete fucking human being. And then fucking Jared Kushner will have to do it.
Maybe they'll find her in bed with pill bottles all around like Marilyn Monroe.
Probably.
That's the way to do it.
Where she shot herself like 6 times. Like that.
Man, she was really suicidal.
They'll send the cops in that killed Breonna Taylor to do it.
Oh shit!
Oh.
Let's not go there. Not this podcast at least. I would love to talk about it another time, but that's too much of a derail.
Well, I mean, she is a foreigner, so they probably wouldn't care.
You shoot questions. Or you shoot questions. Yeah, you shoot first and ask questions later.
Oh shit! How about a no-knock warrant at the White House at 1 a.m?
Yeah, there you go.
And then they could blame it on the Democrats.
You're damn right.
Obama set this up with Biden's help.
Obama!
I'm sad that Obama, as shitty as he's been to Obama, and don't get me wrong, I don't think Obama's a great president or anything, but as shitty as Trump's been to Obama and like how much he just absolutely hates Obama, and like I think even Obama said that like I occupy a weird amount of time in that man's head. I wish Obama had come out and been like, well, you get what you deserve, you dumb piece of shit. And
I think he will eventually.
There's always...
he's too classy.
Like I've heard people, shitty human beings usually say, Breonna Taylor got what she deserved because she hung out with drug dealers, some nonsense. But let's be honest, and that's all fucked up and wrong. But let's be honest, Trump is getting what he deserved. He refused to wear a mask. He made fun of people wearing masks. I remember there was reports of people in his circles that were afraid to wear masks because he would chastise them for wearing them around him. He was at a rally where he had thousands of attendees, elbow to elbow with no masks on, and they asked him, they're like, are you worried about getting the coronavirus? And he's like, no. He's like, I'm way up here. All those people are down there. I'm not worried about it, which is basically him saying, yeah, I could care less all these fuckers get it and die. They're just fucking peons, but I'm not going to get it because I'm up here.
Well, there was also a guy, was it at the debate, that was a Trump supporter
who was wearing a mask, and the Trump's team came out and told him to take the mask off before they went on TV? Like,
not
that's
sure.
insane.
But I mean, there was a rally early on the coronavirus. I remember there was a rally, and I can't remember where it was, but they had all of these coronavirus safety posters up. Just in general, had nothing to do with.
That was a Tulsa.
Yeah, Tulsa, and
Yeah.
then Trump's team had them take all those things down about like wearing a mask and being safe.
My favorite is the rally that he had in, I think it was Arizona. It was at some like church. You guys remember that one? And they,
Ones where he
I
gassed people?
swear, yeah. Well, the two, like the pastor of the church and whoever runs the, I don't know, the two people that like run that church. It's a big like mega church. They I'm not making this up. I can't believe you guys didn't hear this. There's an interview with them before the rally where they're saying it's fine, it's safe to come here because they had installed these special air filter things that killed 99.9% of the coronavirus. No, I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up. And they had the rally and people showed up. It was like 3,000, 4,000 people at this church. And then afterwards, they came out when obviously someone confronted them and said, you know, that doesn't exist, the ability to do that. And they said like, oh, we didn't mean it like that. We meant that it's made to do that or something.
Well, yeah, I mean,
But seriously, look that up. It's fucking insanity.
well, yeah, that kills me.
It takes a
because-
real dumb person to believe some shit like
Well-
that. Oh, they got special air filters.
and I could be getting myself in trouble here, but where I work, that's been brought up. There's a certain area where I work at where the air handling changes the air so often. There's a lot of airflow in the area, and it's been proposed like, oh, those people in there are safe. It's like, motherfucker, if someone sneezes in my face or coughs in my face, I don't care unless we're in a fucking tornado. I don't care how much air handling it is, I'm gonna get it. Plus, if you have strong air handling, it could fucking, depending on which way the air is blowing, it could blow it right into you. So like, yeah,
Dude,
it's fucking
I
insane.
I swear to God, this happened the other day. So I went out with a couple of guys, and I'm willing to go.
Like you normally
like-
do, dates and stuff.
Right. I'm willing to go somewhere if it's outside, right? There's like
Yeah.
you can stay outside and everybody's sitting outside at a park. So we're standing in line waiting to pay our bill, and I hear right behind me, I hear someone sneeze. I turn around and look, and it's this girl. She's probably early 20s, and she's putting her mask back on. So she took her mask off to sneeze.
Did she at least sneeze in her elbow or something?
No.
Nice.
She just took her mask down, sneezed, and then put it back on.
So did
and
you
I
get her
turned.
number?
No, but I did. I turned to my friend. I go, that fucking bitch behind us just took her mask off to fucking sneeze.
Hey,
And I made
D,
sure to say it so she could fucking hear me too.
if that was up my boy D, he'd have been like, "Oh, are you allergic to some big dick?" And then like instant banging would commence.
would have gone down. Early on in this
So-
coronavirus, when like there was no mask mandate locally in the state and stuff, I remember I was going into Walmart. I was walking in, and this guy's coming out. I'm in the parking lot still, walking past me, and as soon as he gets next to me, I mean, on the bright side, he turned his head away from me, but as soon as like we're side by side, he's on my left. He turns his head away from me and sneezes, and I'm just thinking, you motherfucker.
Oh,
Of all times to sneeze, and you can't really control your sneeze anyways, but he still sneezed out in the open away from me. It was, since he did it away from me, it's highly unlikely that, I would have got something from him, but still, it's like all those things are fucking bouncing around in your brain right now because of this shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I see, oh, go ahead, Will.
No, 3 or 4 days ago, I was at the store, and I see a guy pull up in a truck. And if I'm just in the store by myself, I'll let the mask hang off my ear. There's no reason. Like, if I'm by myself, there's no reason to have it covered up, right?
Of course. Or
So
like
I
you're
see
driving
that-
in a car by yourself.
Yeah. So the guy gets out of his truck, and I put the mask on, and he comes in, and he doesn't have a mask. I'm like, you have to have a mask on. He goes, no, I don't. I go, yeah, you do. He goes, well, don't you think it's a bit hypocritical? You didn't have a mask on when I pulled up. And I'm like, well, no, I put it on. Now you have to have one. He goes, well, I just need cigarettes. I go, I don't give a fuck what you need. You have to have a mask on or I'm not going to serve you. That's the rules. It's a mandate. And he goes, well, you don't have to wear a mask. I go, I'm wearing a mask, and if you want cigarettes, you have to wear a mask. And he goes, well, are you that worried about it? I go, well, out of respect for my fellow human being, I figured the least I could do is wear a mask, and I expect the same out of other human beings.
It's such a simple thing to do, and it really isn't that effective on like your breathing or anything like that.
No, not at all.
But here's the kicker.
Go ahead.
Before I could finish, telling him about the respect for human beings,
Yeah.
he screams at the top of his lungs, "You fucking maggot!" And it was weird because I'd never been called a maggot before, and it felt weird. It felt like he was trying to get, like he was a Marine drill instructor. He was going to tell me to do push-ups or something like that, like it was fucking Sergeant Slaughter.
Awesome. There's something I saw that was really good, and it's like this. It was like this explains America right now, and like these people in America, some of these people in America, and it was this girl that worked at like a like coffee shop or whatever, like a barista or whatever. So she's behind the counter, and this lady comes in, and she has a mask on. This lady comes in with no mask on. So the barista has a mask on. The lady that comes in, no mask on, and the girl's like, "Oh, you need to have a mask on when you come in here." And so the lady just like looks around because the place is empty. She's like, "Oh well, I didn't think it was a problem. There's nobody in here."
Bitch.
Like not paying attention to the person she's talking to. It's like, "Oh, you're just you're the help."
Did they still serve? Did they still serve her?
I don't know. That was basically the gist of it. So I hope not.
I'd have told her
It's
to
like,
get the
how
fuck
offended
out.
would you be if they're like, "Nobody's in here," and it's like, you're looking at somebody, you fucking cunt.
Well, that must be how Will feels just every night.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's basically what he said, right?
Yeah. I mean, is that the way you feel, Will? It's like no one looks at you like as a human?
Well, no, it's just like, for the most part, nobody likes wearing a mask. I mean, and the thing is, the average person that just comes in there and gets like a candy bar or a soda or a pack of cigarettes, it's only in the store for about 45 seconds. The normal human being breathes about 9 to 10 times a minute. So that's 9 uncomfortable breaths at the most. And then you're back outside the store and you're on your way to wherever you're going now. And we're not asking too much of people, but you would think that we're asking them for like money, that to be written into their will or something like that. The way that they're behaving, it's just like, and it's weird because Tim's been in the store multiple times. I mean, I haven't seen you in the store in a couple years, but there's probably been about 30 times where Tim's been in the store where he's witnessed me yelling at somebody. I have no problem doing it. It's probably, I probably should have got fired for it a long time ago, but I think my bosses understand because they deal with the same fucking people. But
you work in a not great area, third shift, and you get a lot of like the dredges of society in there, basically, right?
Well,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, it used to be somewhat. I didn't have to do it every night, where I had to yell.
Right.
But now I'm having to yell. If I don't yell at somebody, the only excuse I have is that I didn't go to work that night. I'm having it like last night. You think that after the most protected and coddled man on the planet, got COVID, that would be a wake-up call to everybody. But there's still people that were like, yeah, I don't have a mask, and I'm thinking all right, I have one on my face, I have one in my pocket, and I got 4 in my car, just in case. And you're just driving around willy-nilly, just living your life like there's no coronavirus going on. And these people, it'd be great if it was getting these assholes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm team coronavirus right now because Trump has it. But I would be team coronavirus. I'd be a complete homer for him if if they were killing the stupid people. I'd be the.
And that's the thing is if you could just what is it when someone dies for being stupid? What's that award called?
Darwin.
Yeah. If you could just give all these people Darwin awards, and they were the only ones that died, but it's these stupid fucks that are unsafe and get it, and then they spread it to everyone else. And they spread it to all these innocent people. It's all these innocent people dying that is a tragedy, not the dumb fucks that are like, well, I don't need no mask. I got, we got to worry about the economy, and I got my freedom. Chill my freedom. May wear a mask. Fucking simple-minded people that back in the day, we'd take them out back and put a bullet in their head.
Well, a thing that I've been thinking about a lot lately, like when they talk about like the mask taking away our freedoms, like there had to be a time in the United States where it was okay to drunk drive, right? Where like like when alcohol and cars, like the prohibition and mass marketed cars kind of go hand in hand, right?
Dude, I don't even think it was that long ago. I can tell you stories from my family from the 80s where like my uncle was pissed drunk driving home to a whole other town. Like still had to go that far and was pulled over, and the cops were just like, all right, well, just be careful getting there.
Or just the police escort.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah, that's true.
I used to identify as, I guess I'm a complete socialist now, but I used to kind of, I fought for a long time because I kept trying to hold on to like the Penn Jillette kind of libertarian, right? But then I realized that like, if we didn't have rules and mandates and stuff like that, their buildings would be falling apart, cars would be falling apart while we're driving. Like there'd be people just drunk all the time, driving everywhere.
Right.
There'd be like people just driving around shooting at each other. Because like we have to have rules and mandates, or else if there's not a fear that you might go to jail, you if you have a get out of jail free card, you'll do whatever the fuck you want. And
right.
And the whole libertarian is all about like individual freedom, but like eventually what will end up happening is you'll end up taking away other people's individual freedoms and declaring that it's your individual freedom to do whatever you want.
Well, what you're saying, like Penn Jillette and his libertarianism, is yes, you should be able to do anything you want, freedom, as long as whatever you're doing does not hurt another person. So, like the running around shooting guns, there would be a law against them.
No, that's understandable, but like the thing is, we tried the honor system with masks, right?
Right.
And it didn't work, and and then half the governors are doing mandates with things, and then like that asshole in Florida, DeSantis, is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
He there's no fines for establishments if you don't tell people to put masks on. He's
right.
He's up in the occupancy in Florida. That state has got 10% of all the corona deaths.
Yeah, and they reopened fully now.
Yeah, and
100%.
It's weird, and I've probably made this joke to you all or said this to you all, so forgive me for repeating myself. But it feels like with Trump being in charge, it's like this. Imagine sitting on the runway of an airport, and it's late, and you should have took off 45 minutes ago, and there's nobody really has an explanation for the delay, and everybody's looking at the side of the plane, and you see a car crash through the fence, and a guy gets out, he slams the door, and when he slams the door, he spins around, and he lands in a pile of oil, and then he's doing the curly shuffle on the tarmac, right? And everybody's laughing at this drunken buffoon, right? Then you see him stand up, and then the stewardess goes, "Oh, great guys! Hey, the pilot's here. We're about to take off." That's how it feels right now. That there's no that's who's leading us right now.
The difference is, it's there's not there's not at least half. There may be one person, but there's not more than one person in that crowd that's going to be like, "Yep, that's my pilot. I can't wait to get on the plane. I can't wait to get in the pilot's chair and suck his fucking cock."
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. There probably would be, because they'd be like, you know what? That pilot, he's not normal. He goes against the grain. He says how he feels. He does what he wants.
Yeah.
Maverick.
Let him fly us.
I'm honest to God, I am convinced that he's a simpleton. I truly believe he is a simpleton.
He's not smart.
No,
he's
not.
just.
No,
I mean, I've been saying forever he's just a what do you call it? A snake oil salesman. That's what he is.
I have no doubt that like when it comes to business, I'm not saying that he's a good businessman. When it comes to business stuff,
he's not a good businessman.
I know that, but I guarantee he could bury me in business knowledge. Absolutely bury me.
But
I don't think it's so. like as a general, like intelligent being, he's fucking dumber than a rock.
Dude, the guy who ghost wrote his first book, The Art of the Deal, has been on many interviews saying he didn't ghost write it. He basically wrote it. The Trump didn't know shit.
Well, and you have the guy that said that he did like basically Trump's test for him in like college and shit, or whatever, like the major tests were and stuff.
And here's the thing: when you confront some Trump people about this stuff, at first they'll deny it and say, "Oh, that's a bunch of crap." But then if you present them with like evidence, they'll be like, well, who cares? Like they just don't care.
and I try to tell my relative that I've argued with this stuff about is, it's like you know that basically where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's like ungodly amount of smoke around this man. And what's funny is like he has like almost every single person that gets out from under him, in terms of like he fires them or they quit or they just move away. Pretty much every single one of them has awful things to say about him. And it's like, I can't think of anyone that did that about like Bush or Trump or Bush or Obama or anything like that. I mean, yes, some like small scandals, and some people probably said that Bush wasn't very bright, but I can't think of anyone that did that with Obama that like once they left his service to where they're not like worried about losing their job and they want to keep false worshiping him.
Well, there's that one Secret Service guy that's on the radio, Dan Bongino. You all heard of him?
Is that the same guy who says Biden's wearing a robe around?
I don't know.
People and shit?
He's on Fox News, and he's one of these crazy. He's a Trumper through and through, and I think he was Obama. Well, he wrote a book about the being under Secret Service for. I think he was under Bush and Obama, and I think he retired like a year before Trump got in office. But like most people that are Trumpers, like we mentioned John Voight in our previous podcast. Like most Trumpers, like for the most part, they're only on the right because there's no room on the left for them.
Wow, that's a good point.
And like someone like Christy Swanson or Dean Cain, like nobody's looking at them like, well, who really like. I need to get political news. I better ask the guy who played Superman, or I need to talk to the girl who was the bad Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah. She was the hottest Buffy, though.
Yeah, now don't get me wrong. I will vote for anybody if I get to be with Chrissy Swanson.
I
will gladly vote for Trump.
Well, here's the thing. Like, Jenna Jameson and Tim's favorite fighter, Tito Ortiz. They're big Trump guys.
How dare you? I fucking hate Tito Ortiz. I hope he fucking dies.
But somebody that's talented, like John Voight or like James Woods.
Yeah, James Woods. And James Woods is horribly intelligent.
Yeah, but he's off his rocker with Trump.
Yeah, on IQ level. But go ahead, Will. Sorry.
Well, no, just they're the only ones out of that whole bunch that, like, wow, they actually have like some kind of talent. Now, that might seem kind of weird because I really don't have much of a discernible talent. But, like, I can't imagine, like, the claim to fame had the guy who played Superman and had a reality show about hunting Bigfoot. he thinks Obama was born in Kenya. Like, for some reason we're supposed to, that's supposed to carry equal weight.
Yeah. Do you think that the people, and actually we can ask this of Derek, because you're a Republican, sir.
Yeah.
It is, and I don't know that you feel this way, but maybe some conservative friends or family you might have. Like, is there kind of a hatred or maybe not hatred, but maybe bitterness, a jealousy towards the left because they do have all the cool celebrities?
I don't think
Like,
so.
I mean that like for real. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't
and then
think
on the
so, because
right,
most of these
on the
people-
right, you have Kid Rock, the
Yeah.
Devil Went Down to Georgia guy, and John Voight
Yeah, I mean the ones I'm thinking of, especially like in my family and stuff. I
or
don't
Tim
think
Allen.
so because I don't think they care about those kind of people in general. I'm sure they're like, I wish we had some of these more upstanding celebrities, but at the same time, they also think that the celebrities that are backing Biden are probably like idiot scumbags or whatnot.
Well, a lot of them are. A lot of
Yeah.
them are fucking hypocrites. But then
Yeah.
you got, there's cool people too.
Yeah, but
All the cool people are on
I've
the
never,
left.
yeah, I've never actually talked celebrities or celebrities that backed so and so with them, but I was just thinking, I can't remember the guy's name and what he was related to, but it was a guy that came out, and he was some prominent person, and he came out and was saying, "Oh, coronavirus is a hoax, blah blah blah," and then his son got the coronavirus like days
Oh, I
later,
remember that.
and then
Yeah.
he was like, "Sorry, I basically backtracked on what he said after his fucking son got it."
Oh, I don't remember. Yeah, it was some Trump supporter.
It was Chuck Woolery.
Basically.
Chuck
Oh,
Woolery,
yeah,
that's
Chuck
right.
Woolery.
Which
Yeah.
again goes to your point, Will, of like, wow, I'm not relevant. I guess I'll put out a fucking
Well,
tweet about coronavirus being fake.
well,
Game show host. That's right. That's what.
okay.
Yeah. We'll be back in 2 and 2.
Well, see, Bernie was my guy, and he's still my guy, and I really wish because he would be up like 30 points right now if he was running.
Yeah.
I'd love Bernie, man.
But the celebrities that were behind him, like that's a great group. It's like Susan Sarandon and Danny DeVito and Killer Mike, all these fun people, and it just sucks that like if you look like Ted Nugent and Charlie Daniels and Kid Rock and
Ted Nugent.
and, I mean, like who would really go? You know what? I want to hang out with Ted Nugent, or I want to hang out with Danny DeVito. Who wouldn't choose Danny DeVito?
I'd hang out. I mean, I'm not saying I'd hang out with him over that, but I'd hang out with Ted Nugent. But I'm also a gun fan, so
I love
that's
how
probably the
too,
only reason. If we were out on his farm, we could shoot guns. But
Speaking
just
of
in general,
those
sitting around
three,
having a beer, no.
Ted
Danny DeVito would
Nugent,
be
Kid
hilarious.
Rock, and who's the guy that just died? Charlie Daniels. Like, sure, those are the conservative celebrities, and you can definitely say none of them are racist. I mean, there's definitely not a video of Kid Rock drunkenly yelling the N-word at his own club. That doesn't exist.
Well, what's weird about that is I think he like his first wife was black. He
It
said
doesn't
that.
matter. This is what I was saying to my friend the other day who was talking about, no, my friends, they're not racist. These people he was talking about that are Trump people. And he's like, some of them were, like one of my friends, he was married to a Mexican lady, and he's still married to a Mexican lady. And my other friend's married to, and I'm like, you can be married to someone of another race and still be fucking racist. And people can't understand that, but of course you can.
You can also be part of that race and still be racist. Like,
Yes.
saying that his Mexican wife wasn't racist.
Right. Well, I mean, speaking of that, our attorney general here in Kentucky,
Oh God,
he's a piece of shit.
there's a name I want to call him, but I can't because
Uncle Tom.
like he said it.
I'm not the one.
I've
that said it.
heard
My
that
mom
term's
fucking said it the
racist,
other
which
day.
is odd because it's calling someone a racist, basically. But yeah, he.
Well, it's not. They say that's a racist term, but here's the thing: I'm not the one who said it. If you can go and find 100 black people who have referred to him as an Uncle Tom.
I mean, he definitely
what I mean?
toes the line, and if Trump showed up and said, "Blow me," he'd be like, "Well, I'm not gay, but I got to do what the white man says."
I said this the other day, and it cracked my friend up. I was talking about how, you don't see a lot of black people at like NRA rallies and stuff like that. And then I said, but I mean, that's why. I said that's why pretty much every black person who really is into guns, and you see it in NRA rallies, become famous because like that's their thing. Like they can get a YouTube channel with 200,000 people because everyone's like, oh, that black dude, he like guns like me. He's one of us.
That's everything. It's not as much like
That's
it used to be, but it's like a hot girl that plays video games.
That's such a
Instant win.
Tim. That's
Yeah.
that's a pitch perfect German accent.
Oh, this accent right here, I'll tell you right now, I don't see this record.
I do think there's a lot of,
gangster.
and I think that like some of that is there's a lot of people that do like guns, but they're probably afraid to show it, either because it's not common or else because like people will fear them, be like, "Oh no, he's a gangster," or some bullshit. But, like,
No, I think they like guns. They
Yeah,
just
so
don't
many-
have a basement full of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with NRA thing, you have so many. Probably, I'm not saying there's a majority or anything like that, but you know, if you have like an NRA rally, I guarantee there's a decent portion of racist white people there. And why would a black person want to be anywhere around that? You know?
Well,
Right.
there's
That's not their
a
thing, man.
kind of related to what's going on because there's a somewhat infamous picture of Mitch McConnell standing in front of a Confederate flag. Have you all seen this picture?
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like, and I can't figure out why Amy McGrath's not like using it in her ads, like
Because, dude, she's a Marine. She's a mom.
She's
But-
fought how many combat missions?
But okay, I posted it on Twitter, and it got it was the most popular thing I've ever posted on Twitter. It got like 6,000 likes and a bunch of retweets and shit like that. But like a guy goes, you libs, like he was at a Sons of Confederacy meeting. He goes, the Confederate flag is about tradition, and then I fired back because like Georgia's the South, right? And Atlanta has a lot of famous black people in it, and I've never seen any of those famous black people wear a Confederate flag. Hold on for a second. My phone's ringing.
Oh,
That's Will.
Real
I
normal.
was like, who still has a landline?
Yeah.
Well, of course.
What year is this?
Real quick, I just want to touch on like how upset the Democrats
Sorry about that, guys.
make me because they like you're all talking about Bernie, and it's like once again you fucking morons, the Democrats put forth a shitty candidate to counter Trump. I guarantee Bernie would have won last time. I like Bernie
I think
a
so
lot.
too, man.
100% do not agree with all of his stances and like socialist type.
No, neither do I.
Also believe that if he got in, a lot of that shit wouldn't be passed. You know, you generally can't get extreme things passed, but I believe he's one of the few like truly good human beings up there. And and the same with like Amy McGrath. Like I don't think Amy McGrath's a terrible person or anything like that. I'll 100% will vote for her over scumbag Mitch McConnell. But it's
Yeah.
like, what was the other dude's name?
Charlie Booker?
Yeah, or Cory Booker,
Charles.
Charles Booker. Yeah, Charles Booker.
Yeah.
Cory Booker's
He's the guy in New Jersey.
Okay. Anyways, I think if they put that guy up there, I don't know if Mitch is really hard to beat, no matter what. But that guy, I believe that guy would have stood infinitely better chance than
Booker would have had a chance because he definitely would have brought out the black vote.
I mean,
first of
fuck!
all.
Like, how quickly did he
The youth.
rise?
He would have got the youth vote. Yeah,
I mean,
he'd have had a
like,
chance.
he jumped in so late,
and still almost won.
and yeah, almost beat Amy, who's been like campaigning for years.
Well, 2 years ago, I went to an Amy McGrath rally. I was pumped. I voted for her, and then this time around, couldn't do it. I voted for Booker. You know, he just seemed like a more viable candidate to beat Mitch McConnell.
And that's a big thing. And I also think that like that's one downside about this current election is I still think Bernie would do a better job than Biden at beating Trump, but I feel like Bernie's time was the last one. I feel like he lost a lot of steam for this one, and then people are questioning his age and shit. And
They shouldn't question his age when you got Biden and Trump.
Yeah, I know, but you know how that is.
Biden's biggest thing to me is that one like red flag that I cannot deal with is he can't come to terms with his past. When things are brought up, everything from like the statement about the integrating schools and his schools will turn into a jungle by bringing blacks into the white schools, 3 strike laws, the stuff that they call on him for is 30 to 40 years old.
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
can't come up and go, you know what, I am wrong, I was wrong. Then it
Yeah.
was what seemed to be a right decision. Then was a horrendous mistake.
A different world then.
Yeah, and but it's always like he puts his head down and was just kind of like, and that's his answer.
Yeah, I know. I wish they would have, because it's like with Obama. When he came into office, and now we're talking what 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
He wasn't pro gay marriage. He had to come around on that and talk about it. And it's like, and here's the thing: he was pro. They just couldn't come out and say it publicly. Same as Hillary. You really think Hillary Clinton gave a shit?
I question Hillary, and that's one thing that annoys me. And I've gotten into with one of my gay friends is he's a huge Hillary fan, and I'm like,
oh,
hey,
one of your gay friends, huh?
Yeah. I got him, so I can say bad things about gay people now. Nah, would never do that. But anyways, and I got into it with him liking Hillary a lot. I'm like, dude, because gay rights is a huge thing for him, and probably the most important thing. And I'm like, dude, like, do you realize how many times she's gone on record saying she's like against gay marriage and stuff like that? And well, that's what annoys me is you know, you kind of talk about Obama. It's like, I don't believe you have to do that. Like that just played in the whole like Hillary does anything for a vote. She'll take whatever sounds popular, blah blah blah.
My favorite Hillary anything for a vote is if you go back and you watch her at like rallies in the South or something, and she all of a sudden has an accent, and then you come back, you see her on, you know, some 60 Minutes or something, and she sounds like she's from Illinois.
Now, a documentary that some of my friends on Facebook recommended me to that I think y'all should watch. I can't remember where it's at. It's one of the streaming things. Is it's called Hillbilly, I believe, and it's about this girl it's about Appalachia. She used to live in Appalachia, and then she you know, went to school, blah blah whatever, moved out to California, and then she came back, and you know, she's kind of got more democratic, left-leaning ideals for a time away, but she comes back to kind of interview people about Appalachian, and like a decent part of it is why they like Trump, why they're voting for Trump. And this is a handful of years ago. It's not like the last couple of months it came out. And it shows, like, you know, basically the difference in the way that Trump and Hillary tried to appeal to people. And it's like, holy shit, like, I would have voted for Trump, those people. Like, I totally 110% understand why these people voted for Trump over Hillary, because even though he was full of shit and he fucking reached out to him, and it made total sense why they voted for him.
Yeah, he made them think that he was going to bring back coal.
Yeah. When it's like there's so many places of coal that died that had nothing to do with government regulations. It was just like not profitable anymore. Anyways.
Speaking of California, did you guys see that Gavin Newsom has formed a group to figure out reparations?
I don't want to talk about that because I'll get in trouble.
So, like,
well, no, I wanted to talk about it.
California tax dollars to pay back black residents.
I don't know. They're going to spend it. They're going to form a group, or they're forming a group, and they're going to take a year to figure out how to do it.
All right, I'll say my piece because I'm conflicted about it. If it's coming from like the state, federal government, blah blah blah, sure. Like the whole like making people that had relatives that were slave owners pay for it, that's bullshit. But the thing that, like, you know, could get some people upset with me about it is, it's like, if they're going to do it, it needs to be like, all right, here's your reparations. You get nothing ever again.
Well, I'm not afraid of talking about it.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple first of all, there's way more to it than just, okay, let's give every African American a check.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to do that, and I guess California is going to try, or they're thinking about it, then for my money, you got to give money to Japanese Americans. You've got to give money to all the Native Americans and their families. There's stuff like that. And then you could even go further to look at the people. How about the Chinese people that were basically slaves in building the railroad? The Irish, when the Irish first came over, they were looked at as scum.
One like
held down for years.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, well then, and then the biggest thing to me is there's no point in just sending a check to people individually. That's going to be no different than when Bush sent everyone out an $800 check when the economy was bad. To me, what reparations, the only way it could work, and this is again not me speaking off, just out of my ass. It's something I've heard a lot of prominent black people say, is that what you would do is take that money and just invest it in predominantly black neighborhoods, build up the schools, make the schools better, give put the money towards a better education, more opportunities for education. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. I think I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
I'd be like, yeah, because they were, black people held down for 400 fucking years. There's a
held
lot
down.
of injustice, and that could help. But sending out everyone a check for $1,000, it's gone in a week, and then that's it.
Yeah, I mean, 1,000 isn't. Well, 1,000's not going to cut it. And if you give them, if you want to focus on like what people are going to attack, like, oh, it's just for black people. So if you're like, oh, we'll just give every black person $40,000, it's like. I mean,
And then you can't just say every black person because some of them are Jamaican.
well, yeah, but I mean,
You know what I mean?
ignoring that, but it's like, okay, $40,000 is a good amount of money. It won't be gone just like $1,000 would be. But what about their children and their children's children? That $40,000 probably isn't going to be passed down to a strong degree. But yeah, I hadn't really looked into it much, and I like what you're talking about with investing in the communities and stuff like that, and the schooling, because you always hear like the drastic differences in like the money put towards, like, say, predominantly African American schools versus white public schools, and it does make a difference. It makes a difference of like your future, basically.
And they just don't. Oh, go ahead, Will.
No, have you all, a couple weeks ago on NBC News Tonight, Lester Holt did they did an expose on like it's pretty interesting. Like, they found that like in African American communities that asthma was at a higher rate than in predominantly white areas, right? And they wanted to figure out why it was that. And they figured out that like in like 50 of the top cities, like the urban areas where it's mostly African Americans, they're in industrial areas where like they're either near a harbor or a factory or someplace where there's a lot of like trucks and stuff like that. And there's a lot of nasty shit floating in the air. There's a whole lot of like diesel engines and like not the engines, but the brake dust from the 18-wheelers and stuff like that was kept. The air quality was way worse than in the white suburban areas.
That makes sense.
And it seems like that what would help, like with reparations, would be to fix that.
Yes,
Like
absolutely.
And I know it seems kind of silly that but like if that's an issue and that doesn't take a whole lot to fix, why don't we do that?
Well, dude, it's like, what is that town in Michigan that had the water?
Flint?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
look at that. It's still not fixed all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still not fixed. Do any of you guys think for a second that if that story had been reported in Whiteville, Nebraska, that it wouldn't have been fixed in a month?
Well, here's the thing.
It would have been fixed overnight. They would have sent in the military.
Tim, the water in my mom and dad's house is so bad. They constantly have to. They can't have a dishwasher.
But dude, isn't that Flemingsburg?
But
Nobody cares about Flemingsburg, man.
Oh,
Dude,
well,
fuck them.
oh,
Fuck 'em.
yeah,
Fuck them.
stupid me.
Hey, you got out of there.
Well, no, but the thing is, like,
I'm joking, Will. I'm
but
kidding.
like, I know, but like they had to replace the water heater. Our water heater, usually lasts 10 to 15 years if it's a
Yeah.
good one, or if you get lucky. My mom and dad would have to replace 3 of them in 5 years, just because
Okay.
the water's
So
fucking.
You're making the point that it's not that because Flemingsburg is very white.
This,
You're making the point that they just don't give a shit about any poor people.
Yeah, it's poor white.
yeah,
Yeah.
But the-
I think
Right.
that, like-
Okay.
like,
Good
you know,
point. If
Eastern
it'd been in a rich
Kentucky-
neighborhood.
Well,
But,
Eastern Kentucky, Appalachia, I don't think those poor white people realize how much they have in common with poor
Yeah.
black people.
Good point. All right, my bad. That's a good point. Yeah, good point. Got nothing to do with race in that. Got everything to do with being poor. No, that's true, don't you think, Barry?
No, yeah, that totally does.
Don't
I
you
mean-
laugh at us.
Well, there's also without money. I mean, how do you fix it?
Yeah.
But like Will said earlier, there clearly is money if you can just say, "Oh, here's $2 trillion to the fucking stock market."
But if you invest money in there, you don't get anything back.
And
Yeah.
that's the problem. People don't give a shit. It's like the ocean. Have you guys seen where the ocean? They have that giant island of plastic in the ocean that's like
Yeah.
the size of Texas. And some kid has come along and figured out how to collect that plastic and turn it into little plastic beads that you can sell to companies that they can melt down and make shit. Okay, so now people care because there's a way to make money. Shouldn't we have fucking cared when they said there's an island the size of Texas of trash in the ocean?
Well, here's like Sun Tzu in the Art of War talked to he. I don't know if he's the one that came up with it, but I think he's one of the first people that wrote it down. He talked about dividing and conquering, right? And Fred Hampton, like one of the most. Are you familiar with Fred Hampton?
Fred Hampton.
Fred Hampton was a Black Panther, and he got assassinated in Chicago. It's a crazy fucking story, but he always said that like as long as you have poor people fighting, and it's left versus right, and like and people are fighting side to side instead of looking up, like that nothing's ever going to fundamentally change.
I agree with that 100%.
And
Yeah, go ahead.
No, and the thing is like the whole a big thing in the socialist Twitter is eating the rich, and the thing is like and I'm hoping that Trump was the last stand for like the rich elite, like like we're like I think
I hope, but I don't think so.
well here's Bloomberg when he ran. Bloomberg, like he basically just threw away like $250 million on a failed presidential run, right?
I think more than that.
But okay,
He was totally rejected by the left, though.
yeah, but $250 million, that's $250 million.
That's nothing.
Like I mean, divided 250 divided by 50 is what, 5 million?
Yeah.
He could have gave $5 million to every state, like to like to build hospitals, like to build schools. I mean, you probably can't build a school for $5 million, but he could. Okay, well, I'll buy lunches for everybody. Like like that. He could use that money for so much good, but he just pissed it away, and he doesn't care.
You could say that about every election.
But there's a lot of people that say that he only got involved to help Biden and basically put all his votes towards Biden to beat Bernie.
But the thing is, I think one of the few positive things that happened because of Trump and Bloomberg and the backlash against Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and all the other billionaires is you're seeing that like these people that made all that money kind of made it off exploiting like other people, and I think people are like, you know what, fuck it, like billionaires shouldn't be a thing anymore, and they shouldn't. Like I mean, like I have a big problem with Michael Jordan the person, like great basketball player, but not a very good human being, right? And he has a big advantage over just about everybody else on the planet.
What did Jordan do?
Just
Why is he a bad human?
Just a degenerate gambler and a horrible human being.
Possibly the
Hey,
reason
man.
his dad was killed.
Half of my family are degenerate gamblers.
But the thing is, though, but he, what was that? What was I talking about? Give me a second.
Michael Jordan, how much you loved him.
Well,
How you kiss your Jordan.
no, he has an advantage he has over just about every other human being. He can hemorrhage money for 11 months a year, and like and his accountants are like, "Oh, hey, Mike, you're almost bankrupt," and he can just pick up a phone and call Coke or Gatorade or Hanes, or 2K, you just go, hey, look, put me in a video game. I want this amount of money. Or, hey, I really need to do a McDonald's commercial. You guys got, and like, of course, Mike, come on in. And he's well funded, and like, you know, he's out of the red and back into the black. So that's a problem with like that's why I hate rich people. Fuck them. I hate them all.
I don't know how you can solve that, but I do know what you're saying. Like my most Trump loving friend, he's very Republican, and we're talking about wealth and stuff one time, and he finally said it. He just goes like, "Oh, you know what? You and a lot of liberals, they just hate rich people. You just hate rich people, and you envy them for what they have." And I could not disagree with him more about the envy part, but I do fucking hate rich people. And here's what I mean by that. Here, I want to be construed, because obviously not all rich people are bad people. But what I hate about rich people is I hate their kids who are just born into money and never have to worry about anything. And they grow up to become shitty people because they never did have to worry about anything. And I hate the fact that rich people basically seriously do run the world. It's got nothing to do with them being the smartest, most qualified people, and it's got everything to do with them just having the most fucking money. A lot of billionaires got rich because of timing. You know, it was just the right place, the right idea at the right time.
Or
wasn't necessarily,
or on the backs of other people that like,
or on the backs of other
they
people.
had to suffer so they could get rich.
And that's why I hate rich people. When I say I hate rich people, I don't mean as a blanket statement of, man, I fucking, there's a guy that lives down the street from me and he, you know, gives half his money to a children's hospital. Fuck that millionaire. No, that guy's all right. I'm talking about the bad part of wealth. And people don't want to talk about that for some reason. They don't want to admit that capitalism worked really well for about 100 years, right? Maybe longer. It doesn't work anymore. It's broken down. And people wanted to say that Bernie was this socialist, just maniac. No. He had ideas to basically fix capitalism. That's the way I took it. And not to destroy it, but to fix it. And for whatever reason, people on the right, they don't want to hear it. And I guess it's because a lot of them are the rich people. They don't want it fixed. And the people that aren't rich who believe in it still have the dream that they could be rich. Does any of that make sense?
No,
Totally.
man, it makes sense. But like the rich people thing, man, it's something. I'm not envious of them. I just like Doug Stanhope talks about a couple. I never really followed sports that much, like except like, you know, basketball here or there. And I like UFC and I like boxing. But he talked about a football player named Ricky Williams. And Ricky Williams, like he wouldn't give up pot because he had football injuries because he played football his whole life, and he didn't want to take pills because he saw what it did to people, and so he smoked weed to like, you know, relieve his pain, right?
Right.
And he ended up. He kept getting fined, and then he just, you know what, fuck it, I quit. And like, you know, when they tried fining him, and he goes, "Nah, go ahead, fine me. I'm not playing football anymore. Here's your ball. Go fuck yourself." I mean, He probably didn't say it the way I said it, but like, you know, that was his, and like, you know, and then they tried to woo him back, and like, you know, and they tried to go, "Here, we'll give you more money. Please come back." And he's like, "I've got enough. I've got plenty. I don't need any more." And like, you know, and like, you know, and that's something. There's like 3 or 4 stories like that.
Well, he eventually did come back.
Well, but like, you know, Alan Moore. Like, I don't know if I know Barry knows who Alan Moore is.
The comic writer.
Yeah. Okay, Alan Moore. There's been 4 movies made of his books. Like, you know, V for Vendetta, Watchmen, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and I think John Constantine was his creation. I'm not sure. Was Constantine his creation, Barry?
Constantine, I can't remember.
Well, anyway,
Timber Gaming.
he could have made $40 million alone just by being credited on the Watchmen movie. You'll not find his name anywhere at all on that thing. He, because of his artistic integrity, he was like, you know what, shove this money up your ass. And I wish that was the attitude that like rich people had. Like, go fuck yourself.
That's where my liberalism gets a little cloudy because I would have taken that money.
I will say that Alan Moore kind of seems like a crazy asshole, though.
Man, the thing is, if Nicholson said something in The Departed where he's talking about Leonardo DiCaprio's father, hey, there's Tim's face. Yeah. Anyway, and like he's talking about DiCaprio's father, he says, "Well, he didn't want money. You can't do anything with somebody like that." And that seems like it's noble. Like, yeah, you can't buy me, motherfucker.
I do like that. I like that.
You can't, because that Watchmen movie's not that good, and they're wanting him to co-sign on it like it was the greatest thing ever. And it was funny. Like, if you go back and read his interviews at that time, it's pretty funny. I mean, he doesn't get credit for being a humorist, but he made me fucking laugh.
He's a guy that seems like he lives off principles, but sometimes they move a lot, and not in like the he chooses when he wants to be a good or a bad person. It's just that like you think that like this is the moment where he says blank, and he's like, nope, curveball. And I feel like I can never read how he's going to respond.
One thing that irritated me about him, and I think it's back in these interviews around Watchmen, is he was whining about like, oh, this is my property and this is my thing. It's like, motherfucker, if you want to keep it to yourself, don't release it to the public. Like,
no,
now the public and your fans thing, and you made a shitload of money off it. So quit bitching.
Well, no, I think it was he was supposed to get the rights back after the book went out of print, but the book's never been out of print.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, it was a bad deal he made, but it was really shady what DC did to him. If that's the truth, that maybe I'm remembering the story wrong.
Well, that's big business. That's what they do. They don't fucking care.
Well, it's like the Witcher games, like the guy that made the Witcher books. When they first made that first game, it was a small company. No one thought it was going to be much to do with it, and I think that they offered him like royalties, and he's like, "Nah, just give me like $10,000 or whatever." And then it absolutely blew up. And then they're making Witcher 2, Witcher 3, Witcher 4, and he wound up suing them, and I believe that they settled because they were like, yeah, you do deserve more money, but they didn't owe him anything because he took the deal that he wanted. It was like, hey, you have my forever rights to make games off of my book that's not super popular now, and they made him more popular and richer than he ever could on his own.
In these examples, we're talking about companies that are like not becoming altruistic. Where it's like, yeah, you're a company, you make money. If you don't have to pay out, you're not going to pay out.
Yeah.
But you remember the case of Stan Lee versus Marvel? It was the Spider-Man movies. I guess he got a percentage. They didn't pay him, but they gave him a percentage of some. I can't remember how much it was. But I think Marvel was going to owe him like $70 million.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And they're like, nah.
I mean, that's happened all the time. Now, I think Harrison Ford got that deal through Star Wars, and I think they honored it. But like, you have dude that made Fury Road that was owed a bunch of money, and they, I'm not sure who's right, but supposedly he made a deal. He's like, hey, if it does this, awesome, I get a percentage, and it did a lot better than they thought. And they're like, shit, we don't want to give him that much money, and that's happened.
So
many
wait, how
times.
do you get out of paying them? Like, did they not give Stan Lee that money?
They just don't pay him, and then they wait for the courts to settle it.
Yeah, they hope the lawyers can beat him to death.
That is That sounds like Trump.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that's
what he's done all the time. There's so many people he hasn't paid.
So something going back into the politics of things and with money. So you talk about like Trump, others obviously. Anything that gets imported, we're paying money out, right? Money's going out, gold's going out, for instance. But in terms of billionaires, same thing's happening, but they're still Americans. but you're taking money that should be not evenly spread. We're not. I mean, no one in this podcast is like everybody should have the same amount of money, but you're talking about a pot that should be somewhat divided equally, somewhat, and it's all over here, and we're getting the drops that are coming out, and it's that's for some reason the problems with other countries getting our money isn't a problem at all, but rich Americans that are becoming billionaires. And I mean, are we gonna see trillionaires before we die? I mean, Bezos
is
at
on his
200.
way.
I mean, look at like Apple as a company, how much money they have compared to like the world as a whole.
Yeah, it's just crazy to think of what happens. I mean, we've talked about it before, I think, off air, but like Bezos is rich enough if he could liquidate to build an army, to build a fucking army and just run. You know, I mean, he's gonna be running into some resistance, but if he wanted to go into like freaking Colombia right now, that would make some hellish moments for the U.S. government if a U.S. citizen just decided to take their army to another country.
This kind of sidetracks a little bit, but it's like Russia invaded Ukraine, took over land, claimed it as their own, and they're like, oh, these people voted to join us. And it's like, okay. And then I believe that China has been like, well, you know, we shouldn't get involved in their affairs. That's their affairs. And, you know, those people voted. And it's like, okay, what if America went into Hong Kong right now? It's like, hey, you guys can vote to join the U.S. and your land and all your people will be part of the U.S. Yeah, China would flip their fucking shit. And we do the same thing. Like, well, you know, it's they voted. I don't know why I got on that tangent, but with the money thing, like I'll probably differ through all you guys, because I don't know, you know, I do think that the money should be spread more. That you got so many people at the bottom, but like I have no problem with people being billionaires. I have a problem with like you saying, oh, we should not let them be billionaires. We should take their money or you know, not so much, you know, steal their money, but find a way to where it can be spread out. If you do that too much, which we've seen in history has happened, they'll just fucking leave, and then we lose all of their money in the U.S.
We had this same fight 15 years ago.
Oh, yeah, we did.
We had lived in Central, but the thing is, any system, I mean, someone can become a billionaire. You can become a billionaire with higher taxes, but you know how you become a billionaire with higher taxes is everybody else below you is also making more money.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just more successful than you were before. Now you can be mildly successful and still
there's only
dragging money.
A finite amount of money, though. It's not like magically more money will become available for everybody. And and like these people that harp on about how awful it is to work at Amazon and stuff like that. And I've had friends that work there. I get annoyed by that because it's like, okay, are these people indentured slaves? Were they forced to get the job there? Everyone that's working right now generally is a willing participant in the workplace. They can quit whenever they want. They can get a job somewhere else if they want. Yada yada. Like,
wow, Derek, you sound very Republican right now.
Yeah, that was a very Republican statement. Because without regulation, any other job could be the same as that job.
Well, here's the thing. Like, we talk about getting a job. Long ago, like this is around the time me and Tim met, I worked at Winn-Dixie, and Winn-Dixie closed kind of abruptly, and I was kind of like stranded without a job. And I was also working at at Jimmy John's with another friend of ours, Ken, and I left that job abruptly because of loyalty, but like nobody would fucking hire me, and I got stuck in the loop of working third shift gas stations because that was the only place I could get a job. I really wasn't. I mean, I'm sure I was qualified for other shit, but all the other shit was okay, well, we can hire you in a couple months.
Yeah, let's not let it sound like you're just some bum that's worked at Jimmy John's gas station. You have a college degree.
It's a bullshit college degree.
It's a college degree, nonetheless. You have a college degree in computer science, right?
It's electronic engineering from Spencerian. It's a dog shit fucking fuck that school.
Buddy, I'm trying to make you sound good, not bad. You have a college degree. You're not a bum.
The thing is, it's a completely useless it's a $20,000 at the time. Whatever inflation is done to that money now, I don't know, but it's just a piece of paper. I mean, like it's. I mean, like, toilet paper is more valuable because you get more use out of toilet paper.
Is it an associate's or a bachelor's?
It's associates. I mean, but it's a degree. As I was learning this shit, it was going out of date, and basically, like, well, shouldn't you all be teaching us how to fix things and stuff like that? They're like, one of the things was that they took apart a VCR, and this was like 1999. They weren't making VCRs anymore in 1999. They were making DVD players. But anyway, like, I got stuck in that loop and that whole, well, you can just quit your job thing. Like, if I had to quit my job right now, I don't think anybody would hire me.
Yeah, that I fall somewhere between, I guess, Barry and Derek. Like, I'm the same as you, Derek. I don't have a problem with people being billionaires.
Yeah.
If you start a company and you work 80 hours a week or 60 hours a week or whatever, and you work your ass off and it becomes a company that turns into $1 billion thing, good for you, man. But I also feel like what Barry was saying, which Republicans don't like typically, which is, I don't know how we got to a point, when you look at those graphs of what a CEO made in the 70s versus their employees, and then you see how the employees have just stagnated for 40 years and the CEOs have just went out of control. Like, I don't know how you couldn't look at that and say, oh, we've got a problem here. But most Republicans don't. I don't know if they think they're going to be the CEO one day. Because guess what? If you're some toothless redneck in West Virginia, you're not going to be the CEO one day of $1 billion company, buddy. You shouldn't be voting Republican.
And that's the same as, and there's probably a direct correlation of where you see the thing where it's like the amount of output from a person versus what they got paid. And it's like our output has drastically increased and the pay stayed the same. So it's like people are working harder for the same money.
Also, the vast majority of Americans work in the service industry. That's a fucked up stat.
And it's like
you don't make anything.
And this coronavirus has taught us anything. They're the essential people.
Absolutely.
People at fucking Kroger and Walmart and McDonald's are more essential than like some of these big shots.
And that's a point. Oh, go ahead, Barry.
Think about this too. It's like the minimum wage was set up to be a minimum wage to support your, for someone to have enough support for themselves.
Yeah.
But the jobs we have now, and then think of the guy that was a full-time gas pump operator, and that was a full-time job, and the guy got paid a living wage.
And like 1960, like he could go home, look at himself in the mirror.
Yeah, and go, hey, I'm working on owning this house, or I have enough to get a mortgage. And people were like, I work 3 jobs and I rent a shithole, and I had to sublet it with another person. That's why we have bunk beds. Someone got a bat in their house? What is that?
Yeah. What's going on?
He's got a hawk. A pet hawk.
What just happened?
Tim, are you a falconer now?
A falcon?
A falconer? Isn't that what they're called? The guys that like control the falcons?
Falconer.
Yeah.
Did something happen? What's going on?
We hear a falcon calling in the background at somebody's.
Oh, geez, my bad. I've got my windows open, guys.
To feed the baby birds.
When you all were talking about the lessons that like we should learn from the coronavirus about essential workers,
yeah,
we probably should learn that lesson from Fight Club, like 20 years ago, like when Brad Pitt puts the fucking rubber band around the guy's fucking balls and says, "Hey, we're the ones that feed you, and clean you, and keep you safe. Don't fuck with us."
Yeah,
but we didn't. For some reason, everybody just like, "Oh, it's a cute movie." When that should have been like the thing that we rallied behind.
Now like minimum wage like that, that's definitely something that it's like the fact that it doesn't directly increase with inflation is just crazy.
Well, think about where we were when that was pushed. compared to now, well, as you talk about. So where is that moment? You can probably follow the minimum wage history and figure out the moment where we lost it. We lost the plot as citizens, where we lost the battle to big business.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like,
I would say it was Reagan. I'd say it was Reagan.
No, man, I'd say it was probably Nixon, man. Because the Nixon and Gerald Ford after him, because Gerald Ford's vice president was Rockefeller, and Rockefeller, he hated like minimum wage. I mean, because the Rockefellers, their name, they were billionaires back when millionaires were rare,
Right.
and and so I mean, there's all kinds of things they would veto any kind of anything that would benefit like the middle and lower classes. They would stop, and they would gleefully do so. And then it got worse under Reagan, and then and it got worse under Bush, and then Clinton, who could have kind of made it better, he didn't really do it. I mean, the companies that got stronger when Clinton were in office were all the Arkansas companies, and I think
I hear purring, and I was hearing calling.
Son of a bitch! I moved away from the window. Now the cat is in my lap.
I didn't hear the
and
purring.
he's doing the thing where he's trying to make the kitty bed, purring like crazy.
It's making biscuits.
This must be one hell of a microphone on these headphones.
Couldn't hear you shitting, but we can hear the cats, the birds.
Your zoo that you have there. No, but it's I mean, looking up numbers here. So Rockefeller, not that Rockefeller, but John D. With inflation was worth $420 billion.
Whoo!
And the government had to step in and go, you know what? You guys have made too much money. So when does that happen again, if ever? Because at that point in time, like I said, we had skin in the game still. We still had the ability to fight.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like it's a foregone conclusion that
Well, that the morality of the nation and its more so its leaders has just slowly gone down. And I don't mean that in like a religious sense, it's just general morality. And it's and then the special interests have drastically increased. So it's like we were talking about earlier, money runs the nation. So you have amoral people with tons of money that are putting these people in power, are elected officials that are amoral and getting lots of money from those people, and all the decisions are made to keep the cycle going in one direction, which is to the rich people.
And then you also have a lazy nation that isn't really willing to go out and protest the way they did back in the day, except for issues. Well, I can't. Nothing.
Or
I
you
don't want to go there.
a gullible nation that believes some of these leaders' false promises that they will make things better for them.
Well, like what was the thing in Wall Street? Those protesters, they sat outside. I forget the name of that.
Occupy.
Yeah,
Occupy Wall Street was a great thing. It made sense. It should have become something, but instead, it never got picked up on. Right?
No leader. A bunch of hippies out there as the
right, and that's what Republicans say, and it fucking pisses me off because it wasn't just a bunch of hippies. There were some smart people that wanted to be a part of it too. That knew capitalism was fucked for the average person, and they wanted to fix it. But there wasn't someone who ever stepped up and became a leader of that movement and actually asked for any change. Instead, it ended up just being a bunch of kids camping, just like the Black Lives Matter movement, which is going to piss people off me saying it, but it's what it's deteriorating into as well. The last few nights of the Black Lives Matter protests here in Lexington were the saddest things I've ever seen. You'd have a few hundred people that look like hippies, look like dirty hippies, and they were just camped out on the court, the yard in front of the court here. No one had signs. No one was cheering anything anymore. They were just hanging out and talking, and it was like, wow,
What happened?
It was like, yeah, man,
Well, I could.
free up the monies and stuff.
I kind of have a theory about that, man. What happened? Like, with I don't know if I told you all about this. When the NBA went on strike, like at the beginning of the playoffs, when the Bucks just walked off the floor, where they didn't even go out on the floor.
Yeah,
Like, that seemed like the start of something great.
that was a moment.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, everybody's fucking paying attention now.
And what
And
won? Money won.
No,
Money won.
no, that's not that. Obama stepped in and he called LeBron and he called Chris Paul, because I think Chris Paul's the president of the Players Union, and like he goes, yeah, but you give people hope. You go out there and play, and the basketball players who had all the power of the world were like, okay, Obama, we like you. Why would you lie to us? And they gave it up.
I didn't see it that way.
Well,
I took it as they were told by many prominent black people that the best way to do it, to get their point across, was to stay on camera, to stay in the limelight.
But
that's what they were told.
But the thing is that's the
I agree with you. It would have made more sense to continue to not play, because people would have been like, what the hell? What happened to basketball?
No, here's the thing. Protests only work if people are made to feel uncomfortable.
Right.
And and
Exactly.
if somebody is saying, "Hey, look, I appreciate your protest. I kind of agree with you, but do you think you could move it to the weekend and not block the roads?"
Right.
It'd be great because people got to get through, and and they got. I'm on your side. I'm on your side, but these people. They're trying to get through here, and you're blocking the sidewalk. So you go over the grass. No, keep going. Go see where the fountain shooting water out. Go over there. No, wait, keep going. Go past that. No. There you go, right there. And and that's what happened with Obama, and I'm blaming him because twice he's fucked us this year. He fucked us with I'm convinced that Biden only got the nomination because of Obama's woo fuckery, and he got Mayo Pete to drop out of the race and Klobuchar, and then that fuckery.
Well, Klobuchar sucked.
No, but she had a higher approval rating than Kamala Harris.
She was gaining some momentum. I mean, it's a little bit, but she was there. She was getting there.
Oh God, I wouldn't. I swear to God, I would have thought about voting for Trump.
But here's the thing.
Over Klobuchar.
And then that South Carolina thing happened, and it was a fucking massacre of Bernie, and it sucked. And that was all Obama. Obama did it in 2016. He did the Bernie in 2020, and he stopped the NBA strike. And the NBA strike, it lasted 2 days.
Obama wasn't responsible for South Carolina. That was that representative that everybody cared about. I don't remember his name. He's the one that got everybody rallied up in South Carolina for Biden.
Yeah.
Not Obama.
Please look into it. You'll see Obama. You'll see his fingerprints in this.
Why do you hate Obama so much, Will?
I don't. Well, here's the thing, because I feel like I got lied to by voting for him.
But that's every election.
But no, here's the thing. We went from 2 wars with Bush to 7 wars with Obama. Obama, at that time, when drone technology started happening, we started droning people, and our definition of a terrorist changed, and he was cool with that.
Yeah.
But he got away with it because he was presidential, and he smiled, and he said nice things on camera, and good-looking man. But, and he set the table for Trump. When Trump got into the office, there was not only that Merrick Garland thing, that Obama, I wish he could have forced through, but there was 200 federal judges that were just, the seats were vacated, and that gave Trump all kinds of power. And even if Trump gets knocked out, gets elected out, not like that, but loses the election, those judges aren't going anywhere until they die.
Yeah.
And Obama set the table for it.
No, I kind of agree with you, man. Obama didn't.
And,
He looked great on paper, but he didn't do anything
Well,
great for the
He
country.
was a phenomenal speaker, and that
no,
got him further than anything, in my opinion.
if you go back, it's on YouTube. If you watch the Democratic debate between Obama and Hillary, and you listen to what Obama says, and then like you look at like what Obama gave us, you'll get fucking mad. Like, you know, because like you're like thinking like because he was closer to Bernie than he was to Hillary, as far as like, you know, as a candidate.
What he said.
Yeah, but then like, you know, once he got elected, he filled the cabinet with Biden and Kerry and Hillary Clinton, and they're all people that were insiders all these years, and like, you know, and I think some of the appeal of Biden right now, because I hate his fucking guts, is that he was cool being letting the black guy beating the boss, like, you know, and like, you know, and that may sound like horribly racist, but like, you know, like I think that's the perception that, like, you know, he has, if that makes any sense.
I never perceived him that way, but I understand what you're saying.
A symbiotic relationship between Obama and Biden. Like, Biden was there to like go, hey, look, I'll keep my eye on the guy. Don't worry about it. And Obama was like, fuck, I gotta take this goddamn idiot along, or else I'm not gonna get anything fucking done.
Well, that's what was great about Bernie was, I think we all believe Bernie.
Yeah.
He would have got into office and he would have actually tried to do what he said he was trying to do. It wouldn't have happened. He would have been killed by Congress, but he would have tried.
But he would have gotten some of it through, just not.
But and he would have had the best vice president ever, Nina Turner. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Nina Turner, but she's this wonderful, wonderful woman, and like, you know, and
Is that black lady with like the blonde hair?
Yeah,
yes,
from Thunderdome.
Oh God,
she's a badass. Tim, she's wonderful.
From Thunderdome?
I'm glad you think she's a badass and she's wonderful, but I would have maybe not voted if you would have picked
Not
her
for
for
Thunderdome.
From Mad Max Thunderdome, Bill?
Yeah, Derek. If you keep saying Thunderdome over and over again, it makes it funnier and funnier.
It does.
Yeah, no, I laughed the 13th time.
Yeah, for Thunderdome. Is it Thunderdome? Huh?
It's funny now. Good job.
Yeah, there you go. It took it
Will made it
13
funny.
times.
Will made it funny. I wasn't a
See-
big Turner fan. Will.
Well, Tim, you it's okay that you're wrong. It's all right.
Tim doesn't
No.
hate black people. He just hates black people with blonde hair.
God damn, I really do. There's a UFC guy I couldn't stand.
Well,
And I saw a black dude. I saw blonde hair, and I said, "This is not.
It's like
this
he's
is
not
my
racist.
thing, man."
He's hair colorist.
Yeah.
Well-
Oh, I get pissed.
hey, do you all know who Katie Porter is?
I do not.
She's the lady, like, she'll get like one of the big pharma CEOs on the stand, and she'll bring out the whiteboard, the dry erase board, and she starts like, and she'll punk these people, and they're like, okay, well, here's this number. You know what this number is? I think it's my salary. Correct. Here's what's happened. You've increased this number, which is the amount that cancer patients are paying for their treatment. The treatment didn't change. The cancer people didn't get any better, but you made more money. And you know what this number is? It's really funny, and it seems like that would be the best prop for anybody. And like, you know, just go to Walmart and buy a dry erase board and start hammering all these motherfuckers that have the money, and just show like, okay, well, these are the assholes we need to start going after. But
I
if
don't
you
know
don't
why
know,
we don't. I don't know why people don't go after rich
They
people.
have money.
Yeah, because they have the power to tell us that they're not rich, or the power to tell us that we don't need to worry about it.
I guess, man.
Or
So
you know, they have so much. I mean, let's be honest. Money doesn't apply to the wealthy. I mean, shit. Crime and punishment doesn't generally apply to the wealthy.
Right.
Robert Kraft is getting ready to get off with nothing. And so even if we can prove without a shadow of doubt that, hey, you're doing these things that are wrong, it's like, I got money. Like, I'll get off scot-free. But they'll go to courts. Courts will be like, yeah, you did something wrong, but you get probation.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
So we've determined from this episode that COVID sucks. We've done a sucky job of admitting that COVID sucks. The state of our government has been shitty for a long while.
Yeah.
And things need to get better, and we got to find a way to make them better.
And I hate
Thunderdome.
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 and I hate this bullshit of the whole, like, and Trump pushes this, that they hate America. It's like, none of us hate America. All of us want it to be better. It's the exact same thing as his thing. Make America great again. We want to, not so much again, not like we want to go back to some of the awful things of the past, but yes, we want to make America great. We want to make America a better place.
I love when someone on the right says, "You hate this country so much, why don't you move?" Because I'm like, how much money do you think these people are making? Like, it costs a lot of money to move to another country, buddy.
Well,
maybe if America was better to its employees, they would have the money to fucking move.
or like if they, because most of those people that say that shit did nothing but bitch about it when Obama was in office. But I don't remember a mass exodus of Republicans when Obama was in office.
Nope.
They didn't. So fuck them. No, I'll stay.
Yep.
Cocksuckers.
So let's all be better, I guess. Call out motherfuckers that don't wear their mask.
Don't be a cunt. Wear a mask.
Remember to vote. And I guess we will talk to you soon. Out.
Peace out.
Wieners?
Thunderdome!